The new movie, The Courier, is creating quite the buzz. It's a historical thriller that tells the story of a British businessman who was recruited by Secret Intelligence Service.
And film critic Pam Powell recently talked to the director of the film. Here's what he says about the film's production that does include an all-star cast.
Hi, Dominic. It's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Pam.
I have to tell you, I saw this film at Sundance. And when I went to go watch it again, little did I know that I was watching it again. I was like, this wasn't called The Courier. This was Ironbark. I know this movie. This made my top 10 of Sundance.
I'm sorry you had to watch the movie twice.
Oh, I am so glad that I watched it twice. It was interesting because I really gleaned a lot more information. Knowing the story, I really appreciated the writing style and little hints that were placed along the way that I would never have picked up the first time around. What was it? How did you find out about this story? And what was it? There's got to be some sort of a personal connection that you said, yes, I want to tell this story to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really moved by exactly what you described, that, you know, this guy was a salesman. He was traveling to the sort of Soviet satellite states, selling them machinery for factories. And that's why they chose him. They chose him because he was the sort of least likely spy and he had a legitimate reason to be going there.
Right.
And I found, you know, there were two things I think I found really moving about the story. One was that this guy didn't know what he had in him until he was asked to do it, right? Because he was living, I think, what would be described as sort of pretty regular, middle-aged, middle-class, mildly dissatisfied with life. And he didn't know that he had the potential to do something utterly extraordinary and also to sort of risk so much until he was there. And I found that really moving because I sort of think that a lot of us have got potential that we don't know about until we're sort of asked to find it.
But I want to back up to Benedict Cumberbatch. Tell me about finding him, if you will, casting him and coordinating with him, research, prep work, whatever you had to do in order to get that type of performance.
Well, Benedict and I worked together a few times before. We knew each other over a long period. And I mean, to be honest, I wasn't very long into the script before I thought, oh, this is the project I've been looking for Benedict. I mean, early 60s in the UK is a different universe to anything there is in the world now. It was almost like Edwardian Britain. It was like 100 years ago. It was so uptight, so formal. People were trained not to show emotion. And to be able to play that convincingly, but actually really give you a human being underneath that's vulnerable and uncertain and doing all the things that human beings do is not something everyone can do. But I knew he could do that. And there's also at the end of the film a very sort of extreme bit of the story, and I sort of knew he could do that too. So it was a no-brainer. And he loves his research, and we did do quite a lot. We did a lot of research to who this guy really was. There's quite a lot of footage of him, and then there's an element at the end of the movie where he loses, well, the real character lost a huge amount of weight. And I said to him, would you be up for stopping shooting for 3 months and losing some weight? Knowing that, of course, for a star like that, it's not just the actual thing of losing the weight. It's like, if I'm really stick thin and then I have to go on and play a superhero, that's not going to work. So
right.
So it took a lot of sort of planning and logistics, but he went for it. And I mean, boy, did he work hard to do that. It was sort of amazing what he did.
I want to talk a little bit too about the female characters within this movie. We've got Rachel Brosnahan playing a CIA agent, and then I understand there's another female unsung hero. Can you just quickly tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, because the real CIA people who operated, who the bosses on this project were guys. There were women in CIA at this point, but there was another woman whose story is worth another movie. Amazing woman called Janet Chisholm. She was actually a Brit who was living in Moscow at the time because her husband was a diplomat working at the British Embassy, and she ended up connecting with Penkovsky. And when Wynne wasn't there, she was bringing all the papers and tons of stuff and putting them into diplomatic bags at the British Embassy so they came back. So there was a woman who was playing a really important role in this story, whose story we didn't have screen time for. So we sort of went, why don't we combine that, make sure a sort of female presence is in this story, because it seems really important to honor that in a way. And also it gave us the advantage of all sorts of interesting dynamics. They're working together actually quite well, but there was a huge cultural difference in the way they operated. And also you get this sort of element, which Rachel was so brilliant at playing, of a woman having to appear to be less smart than she actually was.
Right.
And to sort of get the guys to think that they were making the decisions when actually she knew exactly what she was doing,
right?
which I think was true. Right. Right. So, but it was sort of really well placed. And I thought it sort of like told a story of, it's another story of having to sort of lie and pretend to be something else, which is sort of what the film's about. So it gave us a lot of extra stuff. And I'm really glad we did it, because we're sort of we're honoring the women in the story, but we're sort of adding also to the scene, in that there's something else going on, you know.
Very good. Dominic Cooke, thank you so much, A, for making this film, and B, for taking the time to talk with me about The Courier, which is available on VOD coming this Friday and is still playing in theaters. So go see this movie.
Thanks a lot, Pam. Really nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Good to talk to you too. Thanks. Bye-bye.
As Pam mentioned, The Courier is available for viewing right now. I believe VOD is video on demand.
Ooh, there you go. And remember, you can always follow Real Talk with Chuck and Pam on Facebook and check out their websites for all their reviews.
Ahead, we're